Today, Lady Parts talks about the joy of sex and masturbation, covering all of your favorite touchy subjects. I'm joined by our Lady Parts expert, OBGYN Dr. Sherry, and today's guests, model and actress Cara Delevingne and comedian Whitney Cummings. Welcome, ladies. I'm so happy to finally have you guys on the show. I have been waiting for this. It's so exciting for me. Today, do you guys know what we're gonna talk about?
What?
We're gonna talk about the joys of sex.
Yes, we are.
Wait, you didn't call me here to talk about politics? Damn.
What's the best sex you have ever had, though?
Best sex I've ever had?
Yeah.
Oh, is that the ooh. Any day now.
The best sex?
Any day now.
That's so tricky, especially when you have sex with men and women. It's really hard, and also yourself. Is it like categories? Because I don't know, that's really hard.
We should all have that problem.
Like group sex is also fun. I don't know, it's hard to decide.
Okay, for the people like us on this call that don't look like you, and can't sleep with anyone they want, including numbers of people. I've never had group sex that I've enjoyed because I can't multitask. I just remember the one time I had a threesome. It felt like I'm too anxious about people being included. Like, I don't want anyone to feel left out. Like, I'm just too codependent.
I remember having a massage by two people once, and I was suddenly like, is that what sex would be like if you just did that with two people? I mean, if you have all the attention on you, I guess that's pretty cool. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'd rather the
awesome.
massage.
But like, how long do you think sex takes? Like, foreplay included, like all this stuff.
That's the difference between, I think, having sex with men and women, because women, I feel like you tend to have sex for a lot longer.
You need to date busier women. Date someone like me. I'm like, you have 10 minutes. I don't care what you do, just
No, but also I think it's when
with.
I discovered things like tantric sex, or like tantra is in like the kind of act of so much more foreplay and kind of paying attention to the rest of the body as much as you pay attention to your genitals, either sex or whatever, but it's so much more interesting and deep and like beautiful.
Women, right? Our biggest erogenous zone is our brain, right? We like mental stimulation. We like unrushed foreplay.
I love a good mind. That's great. I think it was Esther Perel that said that sex or foreplay should start the last time you have sex with your partner. Like, that's when it starts. As soon as you have an orgasm, and then you wait till like the next time you have sex, that's the whole time of foreplay.
My fiance and I, we couldn't have sex for 3 months before we actually did, just because like medically for me, I wasn't allowed to. So
And that's hot. Sorry.
it was it was like this like very like long waiting game that was really, really sexy.
I didn't lose my virginity till I was like 18. I didn't get confident in sex till way later, but I also didn't ever ask for what I wanted for so long.
But it's so hard to know what you want if you don't spend time with yourself, pleasuring yourself, using toys. Like, you don't know what you want. Like, and you don't know how to articulate it, and you feel like you're broken, or we're also so conditioned to walk on eggshells around men's egos that like we don't ever want to imply that they aren't just the orgasm master lords, you know? And it's also so many men, to no fault of women, have had so many women fake orgasms for so long that by the time you're like, I'm not gonna fake it, I'm gonna make sure this happens, and I'm gonna ask for what I need. And they're so shocked that you're not coming, like when you touch them on the shoulder.
I also think porn has a lot to do with that too, though, the way that it teaches. It's crazy. Because I never started masturbating to porn because I was young, like really young when I started masturbating. But when I started watching porn a lot, it was weird. And I now don't watch it anymore because I think it's fascinating, but I think the way that it teaches, it's not done from like a woman's point of view ever. Like, I think now more people are doing that, but it just, at least when I was growing up, it wasn't healthy.
Yeah, I just masturbate to your ad campaigns. Is that weird?
To mine?
Is that weird?
I don't know. Shut up, that's so
Are you
cool.
uncomfortable?
No?
Well,
I'm flattered, girl.
but here's the problem, and Cara brought it up. The average age of porn that kids stumble on it is 11 years old. So our girls and boys are watching the acting of porn. So they don't really get it, and I think it's really hurting, girls and boys and all of us really, because girls think they need to scream really loud. And
I would scream in bed if I was getting paid, but I'm just not gonna act on my days off.
Also, it's way more interesting if you have an orgasm and you don't, because I remember after being conditioned to think, this is the noise that people make. Mm-hmm. I remember stopping making any noise or trying to really maintain it, and it's so hot. When you just try and, not make any noise, and you feel it way more, and it's whoa, that's crazy shit.
Because you're not thinking, and your brain is not how do I
what do I sound?
Because
Because you can hear the way you sound, but then when you just I don't know, bite the pillow or whatever, bite the person.
Or bite anything.
I love this conversation. I'm really gonna have to masturbate after this.
Okay.
How do you guys keep sex fun and interesting, either with a partner or with yourself? I know sometimes I can get bored of how I masturbate because you're well, I know what works and it's the same every time. I know how long it's gonna take.
It's so funny to me that you're sitting there I'm bored.
I'm bored. I'm done. Whether it's not role play, but different roles or dominance and submissiveness, BDSM or time people. There's so many things you can do, lingerie, I don't know, or even for yourself, music, and especially with now sex toys, even if you masturbate with your hand or with sex toys, there's so many different things you can do.
Have you ever had sex with someone that you didn't like that much, didn't love, and had good sex?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow. I have to be comfortable and feel safe enough to ask for what I need.
Well, also the spontaneity of having sex, because I've had one night stand, I think, when I was a lot younger, but I remember the spontaneity of it.
Yeah, that's hot.
Oh my God, it was so, but also the person that it was with, I was we were playing music together for 3 hours. I was on the drums, he was on the guitar, and then we swapped, and then he was gonna drive me home, and then he picked me up, and we had sex in the elevator. I mean, it was so sexy. I was this is
That's
so hot.
Amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have
great.
really hot movie type of one night stands.
Yeah,
but you knew his character.
Yeah, you know
Yeah,
the
it's
guy.
not that I didn't like him, but I just met, I met him that day or whatever. I was this is crazy.
For me, it's I have had a couple people that are it's not, you were sleeping together, but we're kind of pretending, and it's we know it's not going anywhere, and it kind of stops me from meeting other people, and it sort of just puts you in this holding pattern of just sort of I'm doing this so that I don't have to take a risk emotionally, or I don't have to make a decision. And I think that sex toys, now that they're not just veiny giant baseball bats.
Yes, that always look like just dick, you know what I mean? Which is...
It looks like the dick of a cadaver. It looks like a dead person's foot. And it's it's disgusting. And so you have these ones that are so incredible. Why would you put yourself in a situation to sleep with a guy for 6 months that's going nowhere, that's wasting your life force and your life? Just use a sex toy.
I've always had a fantasy where I was if I really hated a guy, I had a fantasy, I was I want to f him in the ass with a strap on. Is that weird?
Well, some guys ask for that.
I think that's the same thing that happens when guys want to our butt.
That's a very common fantasy women have.
Being I'm gonna dominate the shit out of you and you're gonna like it.
You know what's fucked up?
You just owned
Here's
it.
What I
you
will
owned
say.
it, Cara. You owned it. I like it.
Anytime I try to be submissive and it's a role play thing and he's in charge and da-da-da, I always become dominant by accident. I'm can you not do this way? Don't touch that. Do not put your cup down. Put a coaster down. What are you doing? No, get that other loop.
She's a bossy bottom.
Bossy
Bossy
bottom. I think the best sex to have is when you know that you're safe from having an oopsie-daisy, which leads me to the question.
A queef?
What is an oopsie daisy?
Like a baby!
An oopsie-daisy.
Like a pregnancy.
Oh, I was a queef? A fatty fart?
Queefs are fine. Queefs are natural.
No, at 38 years old, Sarah, that's not called a whoopsie daisy, it's called a miracle. So I just call it a miracle.
So Whitney, what is your go-to birth control methods to be able to enjoy having sex without worrying about pregnancy?
My main birth control in my whole life has been my personality. Worked really well. I now am on birth control. It is called Anovera, and it is a miracle. And it also made my migraines go away because birth control made me have migraines and made me have all these problems. And I also love it because their website is called Just Say Vagina. Their whole campaign is like, why don't people say vagina? Like, why is this all shrouded in secrecy?
Right.
Like, even when I go to, you're not my doctor, Dr. Ross, but I find myself, even when I'm going into my gyno, I lie. I feel embarrassed and still. I'm like, oh no.
This is why we're making the show.
That's
Yeah,
exactly.
dude, it's so
we're
important, so
talking
true.
about the vagina front and center.
This is perfect, you guys, because we have a very special guest that's going to be joining us. Lora DiCarlo, the founder of Lora DiCarlo.
Lora!
She's joining us. Here she is.
Hey, Queen!
Thank you so much for joining us. Can you please tell us a little bit about your amazing revolutionary company?
Yeah, I mean, we launched our very first product in the beginning of 2020, and we survived 2020, but not only that, we thrived and went.
I've never needed sex toys more.
Exactly. Who doesn't, though? It's so true.
I think it's so great that you do this educational piece, to sex and masturbation, because there's so many taboos. And this is the problem, because in school, we're not really learning it well. And then we learn it from what Cara was talking about, porn. So there's not a really good, script.
I highly recommend looking into sexual educators. If you're interested in any questions about sex, sexuality, masturbation, identity, look into sexual educators. There are plenty of folks in this space that want to share that information. That is their job. That is a job that exists, and it's a really interesting one.
And sex education shouldn't start at school. It should be something that you continue to do.
Sadly, Cara, we have to bolster it because it sucks in the first place.
It sucks.
So it's actually fallen on a lot of these sex tech companies to be the educators.
Lora DiCarlo is also the most sexual name I've ever
Isn't
heard.
it?
Yes.
It rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Because it was like me, when I realized my last name was Cummings, I was like, well, I guess I have to go into comedy. Whereas she's like, my last name's DiCarlo, I guess I have to be a sex educator.
to be-
It's like,
And it should be fun and also open and getting the stigma away. You should be able to talk about it with your friends. I mean, that was the worst thing I think about growing up, is that you're shamed for masturbating. Boys will talk about it all the time and you're shamed for it. I remember the pool jet was probably the first, I mean, apart from whatever, but I was like, I got in so much, of course, but how many women get, a shower head?
So
you know what
embarrassed.
I used to scoot to the bottom of my bathtub when I was 10 or something, and I would
put your
turn
legs
on
up?
the water.
Yes! Hey, come on.
That's way more impressive for you, given the way English baths are set up.
What English? No, dude, it was perfect. It was great.
You tried to turn on the hot and the cold.
I mean, if you think about orgasm and all the medical benefits, let's just briefly
the medical
sit, right?
benefits.
I mean, we all can jump in, but listen, it's the best calming, it's stress relieving, right? No anxiety, pain relief. It's good for menstrual cramps or joint pain, headaches even. It just makes you feel good, right?
It's good for not texting your ex back.
Good one. Yes.
Yes.
If you feel like texting your ex, you have an orgasm.
I mean, it's like going to the grocery store hungry. You don't do that.
That's right. It's also, it's a tool for staying out of bad relationships.
It's the best sleeping pill known to mankind.
When do you remember that you first started to masturbate?
I didn't know I was doing it. I thought I was just riding a horse.
Oh, that's what they call it now. Ride that horse, girl.
No, I just mean having a horse as a kid, you're riding in the saddle and you're like,
This feels great. I love horseback riding.
oh, what's that? I know, and then you're trail ride overnight, and you're just
No, all those all the bouncy, what were those ones called? With the little bouncy, with the ones you sit on and you're like, wow, this feels good.
a Sibian?
A bouncy horse?
The bouncy balls?
Those ones, the ones they do that in Friends.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God, and you're like,
That is a very
"Girl."
good sex toy idea.
I mean, I remember when I was younger, I definitely felt I would just hold, I don't know, hump a teddy probably a bit too long. I definitely felt like I was quite sexual at a young age. I remember being in a sand pit and building a rounded shaped sandcastle and being in my underwear and just sitting on it and being like, is this nice?
We've been the pleasure givers for millennia.
Exactly.
And
But now we're the pleasure seekers.
yes.
Takers.
This is the kind of conversation we're going to close the orgasm gap that exists between men and women. Women average is about 13 minutes to have an orgasm. Men, 2 to 3 minutes. And we need to really come into the bedroom and start really asking for what we want.
And it takes practice.
Take the power back.
But it's also, it is our responsibility. Like, it's just, like, no guy is gonna go, all right, let's work on your orgasm. Like, they'll do that in a way that if you don't know what you need, whether it's like calm, safe, breathing, quiet, create, like, you don't even know how to communicate.
Right.
Yeah.
There's also, like, I weirdly dabbled very deeply into the sex robot world. I had a sex robot made that looked exactly like me for my last special.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Stop.
You're like, yeah, please don't bring
Hold
that.
the phone.
Hold on, what?
It looked just like her. It was terrifying.
I need to see this.
Do you have
so
it in the
bad.
room? Can you bring it
Cara,
out?
I can run it out to you if you want.
Okay, please. I want to see.
oh
What
my
the
gosh.
Why is
I took her head off at the very end.
There she is.
We brought her in.
Stop it.
Okay, so here's the thing. She does normally talk, and her hair is normally much better than that.
She looks scary.
Kidding.
I am freaking the out right now.
But I think it's important to know that, like, there's emotional reasons that people should use sex aids that are not just like, I must need to all the time. It's not what it is. A lot of people are using it to experiment to figure out what they're into.
It's a good point.
And honestly, I look at the sex tech business as very much similar to like yoga and meditation like 20 years ago.
Exactly.
It's self-care.
You know, the more you masturbate and the more orgasms you actually can live longer and your immune system stronger.
Yeah, instead of an apple a day, an orgasm a day. Keeps
There you
the
go.
frickin' doctor
That's it.
away, guys.
I have loved these conversations that we have had. I could talk about sex dolls
All day.
and
I mean, for hours.
group sex
All
and
day.
masturbation and all of that all day.
All right, guys.
It was
bye.
good seeing you, loves. Miss you both. We have banged out season 1, and we can't wait to be back with more lady parts soon. In the meantime, go f*** yourself. What? We taught you how.